I sit there as the world passes by. The buzzing of people talking, laughing, and moving about creates a blanket of white noise that surrounds me. My mind is focused on a thought. Time slows, bringing busy shoppers to a standstill as I make up my mind. What do I do? I wonder. Caitlin is waiting for an answer. I look up and see the excitement in her eyes. The usually dark brown eyes are shining with anticipation. Well, she asks. Her smile shrinks a little, as she grows impatient. There's so many people, I say. What will they think of me? I don't want to look like some stupid teen running through a shopping center. Well, first of all, you're not a teenager, remember, she responds, keeping her composure. Yes, but two 20-year-olds running through a store definitely look like stupid teenagers. And second of all, she continued, ignoring my anxious rebuttals, it will be super fun. Sometimes, you just gotta have fun and not care what people think. I know deep down there is a child inside you just waiting to burst out. I sighed as I watched her tilt her head to the side like a puppy wanting food. Her now faded red hair fell gently down her face and onto her front. She brushed it away, exposing her blonde roots, and placed the unruly strands behind her ear. Why argue at this point? I reason with myself, she always gets what she wants, one way or another. We'll just run to the nearest exit and I'll try not to make too much of a scene. Fine. I'll do it, I say, defeated. But here are my conditions. Yay, she says, cutting me off. Let's go. My eyes widen and fear grows in me as she rises sharply out of her chair and starts to run. Panic takes hold of me as I realize, if I don't chase after her, I'll be running on my own. Running alone is 1,000 times more embarrassing than running with her, and people are less likely to question two people running together than one guy running on his own. Wait. I call out, louder than I initially intended. I get up out of my seat and realize I'll have to leave our rubbish on the food court table. Sorry, I internally apologize to the world as I begin running. I don't have time to put it in the bin. I need to catch up. I sprint after her, much faster than I ever planned to run. Ahead of me, I see her blue denim jacket forming a cape behind her as she zigzags between the crowd. People stare at her as she passes by. Her shoes squeak with each sharp change in direction as she dodges the onlookers. She turns to look back at me and beams a beautiful smile. The sight of me desperately trying to catch up to her makes her giggle as she runs as fast as she can through the army of shoppers. I catch myself enjoying the experience and immediately remind myself that I didn't want to do this. I can't help but laugh as I feel the anxiety leave my body and let the feeling of excitement take over. The cool air-conditioned air creates a pleasant breeze on my face as I dash through the center. Now all I can think about is how to overtake Caitlin and which line between the crowd will be the most efficient. Gotcha, I say as I run past her. I stretch out a hand to tag her on the back but miss due to our combined erratic movements. My hand hits lower than expected on the small of her back and slides down to slap her ass. Laughing, she says, "Hey. Look who's enjoying themselves, not seeming to be bothered by the mistake." "Shut up," I childishly retort, as I take the lead. "Looks who's losing," I say behind me, as I race through the crowd, leaving her far behind. I make it to the parking lot and wait for her around the corner of the building away from anyone who may judge us for running. She rushes at me and hugs me hard enough to knock some air out of me. "Oof," I say as she hits. She spins me around in her arms, squealing with excitement. "That was so fun. I felt like a kid again. Aren't you glad you ran, too?" "I know you enjoyed yourself," she said, speaking at 1,000,000 words per minute. I awkwardly release the hug, but my hands are trapped firmly within hers. I've never been much of a hugger and almost always stand there gawkily with my arms draped robotically around whoever has decided to hug me. The only person besides close family who ever hugs me is Caitlin. It is still very robotic, often ending with a double pat on the back, but I still allow her to. It just feels different when she hugs me. Always uncomfortable, but different from everyone else. Caitlin is my closest and oldest friend. It's simply better when she is hugging me. Or maybe, she has just earned the privilege after all these years. Caitlin slows the swinging of our arms as her heavy breathing becomes steady. For a second, we stand together holding hands before she remembers my discomfort with physical interaction. With an acknowledging nod, she releases my hands. So, she says with fulfillment. It was not so bad, after all, I say humbly, accepting her gloating smile. Of course, it was. I think to myself, she always convinces me to do stuff I don't want to do. It very rarely goes wrong, and I almost always enjoy the thrill of being outside of my comfort zone. All my ideas are good ones. You should know that by now, Jake. She slapped me on the ass. Hard. On the ass. Ow. I exclaimed. What was that for? Nothing. You started it, you big teenager you. I did not hit you that hard, I replied. Besides, my hand slipped. Oh, your hand slipped, she mocked. You sure you just didn't want to feel all this, she said, as she grasped her ass with both hands. She squeezed each cheek and shook her ass at me. I knew better than to think she was doing anything flirtatious. In fact, I barely noticed the apparent sexual nature of her actions. This is just what Caitlin was like. The entire time I've known her, she has been outgoing, overconfident, and never thought twice about what she said or did. We make such good friends because I am exactly the opposite. I overthink everything and have very little social confidence. Most of the trouble we find ourselves in is due to her getting some crazy idea from me. I'll watch some strangers playing volleyball at the beach and ask her who she thinks is the better player, and she will decide she wants to join in and play them to see. We will be engaging in thoughtful discussion about a hypothetical situation, and she will suggest we just try it out. Sometimes, she'll just make something up on the spot with her own crazy imagination, and I just have to deal with it. If you spend any time with her, you've probably had to sit and watch her dance to absolute silence as she expresses her emotions, ranging from happiness, excitement, dance emotion, which I, to no avail, insist is not an emotion, thoughtfulness, and even boredom. Caitlin is a free spirit and seeks anything that will bring her enjoyment. Because we are so different, my thoughtfulness often gives her ideas she could never come up with on her own. She loves that more than any of her own ideas. Whenever I give her a novel idea, she loves it because she believes that she would absolutely, never ever have come up with that idea herself. And very rarely, on the bluest of moons, my hesitancy and tendency to think things through does stop her from following through with her harebrained idea. Which is a good thing, because on those occasions, I keep us from getting into situations we can't come back from. I swear, we would have been expelled from school had I once let us just sneak down to the shops. Or allowed her to think that she can totally climb in through that window up there into the classroom. Later that day, I find myself lying lazily on the living room couch. Caitlin is on the couch beside me upside down, of course swinging her legs in the air. I'm kinda bored, she sighed. I can tell, I said, without looking up. Put the TV on, or something, to entertain yourself. There's nothing on. Besides, I can watch TV at home. I'm here to hang with you. Is that why you're upside down? I quip. Haha, she says sarcastically. It's why you should stop scrolling through Facebook and start engaging me in conversation. Oh, but this is so interesting, I say, knowing that this is frustrating her. I love reading these super exciting ads on my feed. I search for the most menial posts I can find. Oh look! I say with fake enthusiasm. There is currently a 2-for-1 sale at Jack's Hardware. And, damn, our old English teacher just posted a motivational quote. Hey, look, a university we don't even go to is throwing a party this weekend. Whoa! Pool noodles that are twice as long as normal. What's that about a party? She chimed in. With a sigh, I muttered, shit. Jacob, she said sternly, tell me about the party. It's at a uni we don't go to, with people we don't know, and I'm not going. But I'm going. No, you're not, I interrupt. Unfazed, she continued, and we do everything together. You can't expect me to go alone, can you? Out came the puppy eyes again. You know nothing about this party. You don't even know anyone who might be going, I reasoned. That's the best part, she beamed as she spoke. We can be anyone. I didn't reply. What day is it? What time? You are busy that day, I replied. No, I'm not. No, you're not. What day? She asked, as if she was coaxing the truth out of a stubborn child. I'm busy that day. I couldn't help but smile as I said that. That was an outrageous lie, even when compared to the obvious lies from earlier. Yeah, right, she exclaimed. It was now Saturday evening, the night of the party. I had stayed in the lounge room all day, refusing to get ready, whilst being fully aware that Caitlin would make me come to the party no matter how much I resisted. My phone chimed with a text. Open the door, Jake. It's party time, followed by several emojis. Nice hair, I said as I opened the door. To see her giddy with excitement. She wore a multicolored, long-sleeved crop top and a high-waisted plaid skirt which clashed with every inch of the top's design. She donned her favorite checkered gumshoes with mismatched socks. The busy clothing patterns and floral green hair somehow all came together to make an outfit that actually looked good. Her outfit drew attention to, and accentuated, her flamboyant nature. Thanks, she said, flicking her hair as if she were a shampoo model. It took forever to dye. She noticed my disheveled state. Wow, I'm shocked to see you haven't started getting ready yet. Her sarcasm went unacknowledged. Good thing I came here early, she said cheerily. She grabbed my hand and led me to my room. Knowing her way around as if it were her room, she starts picking out my clothes for me. I know at this point that I cannot get out of going to the party and that there is no use in arguing about it. Which is why I sit there silently and let her do all the work, as a form of pathetic protest. She throws a pair of navy jeans and a nice collared shirt onto the bed. Put these on, along with your good pair of shoes, she commands, heading for the door. I respond with an eye roll and a loud puff of air. Sure thing, I say, as I splay out onto my bed. As I stare at my ceiling, thinking about how tonight is going to turn out, my body lurches. Hey! Caitlin says, as she runs her hands up my legs and grabs hold of the bottom of my shorts. Get dressed, she strains. Her hands are fully inside my pants with her palms facing upwards. She stops at her thumbs and pulls down sharply, making me hastily grab for my pants and try to cover myself. Okay. I yell, as I look down to see half of my underwear exposed. You'd better, or so help me, Jacob, I will change you myself, she said with a parental tone. Message received. Just let me cover up. Get out. You can go now. I snapped. With a satisfied smile, she spun around and skipped out the door. I looked down again to see just how much of my dignity was left. She hadn't exposed too much of me. Great, I thought to myself, just great. This is what happens when you say no too much, she finds new ways to make you say yes. Well, lesson learned. I took a deep breath. As I got changed, I couldn't help but think about the brief, but rather awkward, contact she had initiated. It was obvious that she had no intention other than making me uncomfortable, but I couldn't help but feel the lingering sensations caused by her touch. I don't have any romantic interest in Caitlin, I told myself. Getting caught off guard like that by anyone would make me a little sensitive. I looked in the mirror at my final appearance. I looked good. Although, I could see a small crease in my jeans. Sighing, I adjusted myself. This is why I don't wear jeans. Even when nothing's going on, it's still enough to make a noticeable bump, I complained to myself. I exited the room. Happy? I asked. Yes. Now we can go, she said with a smile. And, nice look, Jake, she added with a light punch on the arm. Caitlin. I snapped back at her. I couldn't believe she said that. I felt so exposed. But before I could get too upset, she spoke. Whoa, calm down, Jake. I was only kidding, okay, she reassured me. It didn't do much to calm me down. Imagine if I made a comment like that about you. Wouldn't you react similarly? She put her hands on my shoulders and turned me to face her. She looked me right in the eye and said, Jacob, I wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable. I just wanted you to get dressed and only meant to tease. She had a tone of seriousness that told me she was telling the truth. That's what I thought. It's just when you said that, I got all self-conscious, I said timidly. I know, I know. I'm sorry. She gave me a quick hug. Here. All better. It was easy to forgive her, so I did. It wasn't that out of character for her, anyway. I just felt insecure about it and got defensive. I knew she didn't mean to upset me. I spent most of the drive over to the party thinking about the exchange from earlier. I knew I was embarrassed about the whole incident and a little upset, but couldn't quite figure out why. I knew she meant no harm, so I didn't mind what happened. But then, in contradiction to that, I still felt embarrassed at the same time. I don't really want to admit it to myself, but I think the reason I feel that way is not because of what she did, but because I wish she liked what she saw. Or at least, that she didn't think negatively of me. I tried not to dwell on it too much. Like I said to myself earlier, having a moment like that can make you a little sensitive, and the feelings will pass. I didn't want to be thinking weirdly about my best friend. As we walked down the unfamiliar pathways of the university, Caitlin turned to me and said, "Ah, look at us. A matching pair." I gave her a quizzical look. She was brightly colored and beaming, while I was wearing plain, dark clothes and an even plainer expression. We both looked great, however, no one ever said that jeans and a collared shirt looked bad on me. And Caitlin radiated cuteness in her outfit. I guess my brown hair looks exceptionally green today. And look at that. My legs look great in this skirt, I sarcastically joked, while striking a pose with my right leg in front of me. Ever the comedian, Jake. Let's see you keep that energy when we get inside, huh? Or are you all bark and no bite? She asked as the large hall loomed over us. The sound of music and people grew louder with each step. "Oh, I'll be the life of the party," I replied, with a deadpan voice. We stepped into the large hall and were immediately bathed in the radiance of Caitlin's outfit. The room had several black lights that made every bit of her shine brighter than anyone else in the room. Immediately dancing, her face came alive with a green glow as her hair moved and simultaneously cast color and shadow over her. She was a walking, talking strobe light, beaming her excited energy to everyone in the room. I, on the other hand, immediately felt anxious. The room was huge and filled with people I'd never met. The music was louder than was really necessary, and I realized I had no idea where to get drinks or where the toilets were. "Caitlin!" I yelled, barely louder than the surrounding noise. "What's up, Jake?" she replied, as she swayed her hips in time with the music. "I don't know anyone here." "That's the point," she interrupted, stopping to face me better. "I don't even know where the toilets are, or who to talk to. And you know I can't just dance with everyone watching me." She reassuringly placed a hand on my shoulder. "That's okay, I'll stay with you all night. You can talk to me, and I'll find out what's what." I smiled at her, feeling less anxious about the situation. "Here, let's ask them. They look like they're having fun." She skipped away, pulling me with her, towards a group of people before I had a chance to oppose. "Hi." She beamed at the crowd while titling her head to the side. Our hands were still interlocked. "Hey." "Hi." Two members of the group answered. "I like your style, girl," said the woman who turned to face us. She didn't seem to mind that Caitlin had just approached them out of the blue. "Yeah. Your hair looks so cool in this light," added the man she was with. "We don't go here and Jacob is very shy." "What's the info on this place?" Caitlin asked them, while gesturing to me. I tried to not look so awkward and smiled, mouthing a silent, "Hello." "We're Jess and Jessie," Jess said, while gesturing to her partner. "There's food over there, a bar at that inn and toilets somewhere in the corner over there," Jessie added, while pointing around the hall. As I looked around the building, searching for the highlighted locations, Jess pointed at Caitlin. "So are you?" "Caitlin. And Jacob dating? Or?" she asked innocently. Caitlin, while still holding my hand, put her other hand on my bicep and hugged my arm tight. "We sure are," she said, before I had a chance to say otherwise. "Oh, that's great," Jess replied. I stared at Caitlin and began a telepathic discussion with her. I furrowed my brow and showed her I was unhappy. She replied with smugness and stuck her tongue in and out quickly, followed by a cheeky grin. "How long have you been dating for?" asked Jessie. About a month now, Caitlin replied, sounding almost giddy. She pulled me in closer as I tried to subtly move out of her grip. Isn't that right, sweetie, she added, giving me a loud kiss on the cheek. This caught me completely off guard. I wasn't too surprised when she decided to pretend we were a couple, just another one of her tricks to put me in awkward social situations, but this was further than I expected. Realizing I was stuck in her little game, I decided to take control and turn the situation around. With a deep breath and a burst of fake confidence, I replied, "That's right, babe. We're celebrating our 1-month anniversary next weekend." As I said weekend, I playfully patted her on the back and kept her close. By the way, I hope you guys don't mind some playful teasing, because she's a bit mischievous. My tactic worked. I had turned the tables on her, and she was starting to look embarrassed. I kept her close as she tried to pull away. Teasing is fine, man. Usually, Jess and I are the ones who have to tone it down when we're out in public. Sounds like you two will get along great. Caitlin loves to joke around, don't you, Kate? I asked, not giving her a chance to respond. Tell them about that new prank you pulled yesterday. Caitlin was caught off guard and struggled to find a way to stop me from talking. I'm going to go grab some drinks, I'll leave you three to chat. With that, I walked away, leaving Caitlin to handle the curious couple. I watched from the other side of tea room, feeling pretty pleased with myself as I sipped my drink. I reflected on how I had managed to take control of the situation. While it was definitely odd pretending to be a couple, the look on her face when I turned the situation around was worth every bit of the anxiety she'd caused me. It also felt good to get back at her for her earlier prank. After what must have been an awkward conversation, she walked away and found me. "Hey, babe," I called out mockingly as she approached. "Hey, sweetie," she replied, through gritted teeth. She punched me on the arm, a smile still plastered on her face. Ow. Is someone a little butthurt? I joked. I will say I am impressed, Jake. You definitely took charge of that situation and came out of your shell a bit to get the better of me. She did a humble bow with her head as she said this. Thank you, I said smugly, while crossing my arms. Too bad you left the conversation though, she added, with an air of mischievousness. What do you mean? I asked, my smug attitude fading as my arms fell to my sides. Well, I told them about how you like to be in control and how you mentioned you've never experienced anything quite like the excitement from that particular activity, she said, her voice teasing. Great, I muttered, realizing I had lost the little game we were playing. Well, you did grab my arm, she said nonchalantly. And you gave me a peck on the cheek, I replied. A quick kiss versus a playful squeeze? I don't think they're quite the same, she said with a whimsical tone. You did dack me earlier, remember? I rebutted, so, surely, me grabbing your ass was equal to those two. You make a good point, she responded truthfully. I guess you get a free pass next time then, she said, with a twinkle in her eye. Ooh, well in that case, I have never touched a girl's boob before, I joked. You wouldn't dare, she responded candidly, goading me to prove her wrong. It had only been a joke, but a part of me felt an unexpected urge to reach out and touch her after I said that. I noticed how her outfit highlighted her features in a way I hadn't before. They appeared more prominent and visible now. How had I missed this before? I must have noticed at some level, but I hadn't paid much attention. She is my friend, and I've never thought of her in a romantic way before. It was like noticing something about a friend that you hadn't observed before, without letting it affect your view of them. I looked up into her eyes. She had a shy beauty as she stood before me. I realized there was a silence between us that was able to drown out the entire crowded hall. She looked away into the distance, lost in thought. A small smile curled at her lips as she turned away. As I was lost in my own thoughts, she began to sway at the hips, silently dancing to the rhythm of her mind, oblivious to the world around her. She looked back at me. I felt a strange tingle of nervousness in my stomach. She had looked at me 1,000 times before, and yet, something felt different this time. Thank you for coming out with me tonight. I know it's outside of your comfort zone. I've enjoyed it, she said quietly, a tone of sincerity behind her words. Thank you for making me I've enjoyed it too, I replied, a little surprised that what I said was genuine. We can go if you want. I know you'd prefer to go home. We just got here. And you've barely even danced, I selflessly reasoned. It's free entry. It doesn't matter when we leave, as long as we had a good time. True. I respond, but do you want to leave? I'm happy to leave if I can still hang with you, she smiled. Unless my boyfriend wants to dance with me a little bit, she asked hopefully. You know how I feel about dancing. Besides, I can't dance, I answer, a tone of disappointment in my voice. Well, if you pretend to be my boyfriend still, we could dance together and it will be easier for you, she offered. I'm not sure how that would be any better, I responded, not seeing any difference. For starters, we can stay right here, away from the dancing crowd, where no one will watch you. And secondly, she gently took hold of both my hands. Couples hold hands when they dance. So, you can just follow my movements. She smiled at me, which brought me comfort. I will try, I said meekly. I was nervous, but she did a good job of making me feel relaxed. I felt safer holding her hands. They had a warmth to them, a feeling of connection that made my chest feel lighter. She moved my hands around silently. Our eyes locked as we swayed with the sound of the music around us. We flowed with the music, gently staying in time with every second beat. She raised my hands up and out and my body followed. We danced in a small, private circle, existing in our own world. Caitlin smiled her beautiful smile as she watched the tension leave my body. For a brief moment, I was able to only focus on her. This isn't terrible, I thought to myself. I love having her as my best friend. I wanted to say something nice to tell her how I was feeling but couldn't find the right words. This is nice, I said softly. This is dance emotion, Jake, she cooed. Can you feel it? Yeah, I said, looking directly into her chestnut eyes. I looked deep inside her and into her soul. I felt our connection, our friendship. I saw that I meant the world to her. Thank you, Kate, I said sincerely. For what? She asked. You can always make me feel comfortable even when I don't think it possible. You mean so much to me. Caitlin smiled a brilliant smile and drew me in for a hug. I welcomed her embrace and we stood there holding each other. Her head rested on my shoulder and my hand gently held the back of her head. I noticed how soft her hair was and ever so slightly let it slide through my fingers. She breathed in deeply and nudged her head on my shoulder. We stayed together until the music faded into a new song. We released each other slowly. That was the best hug you've ever given me, she said, enchanted. Yeah. I replied, realizing that I didn't force it to stop. Squeezing my hand, she said, thanks for dancing with me, Jake. I loved it. Maybe we can do it again, sometime, I said, making her smile. Want to go? You can stay at my place tonight, I offered. Gently, she replied, sure. I'd like that. We arrived at my place in the late evening. Caitlin wasn't prepared to stay over, but that wasn't an issue. We stay over at each other's houses all the time. We even keep a spare change of clothes or pajamas at each other's place for this very reason. Let's stay in my room tonight, I suggested. What for? Don't you like the couch anymore? She asked. We can play games on my Xbox in my room. And we can just fall asleep whenever we want as I will already be in bed. And where am I sleeping? Can your bed fit us both? She giggled. You can sleep on the gaming couch. I doubt it will be any less comfortable than the lounge room couch, I offered. Yeah, we can do that. I'll probably fall asleep while talking to you. Good. You have a shower while I set up the couch. As I finished preparing her bed, I heard Caitlin call from the shower, Hey, Jake. What? I called in reply. Jacob, she yelled. What? I answered, heading to the door. I can't hear you. Come here. As I rounded the corner I asked, what do you want, but stopped where I stood. Caitlin was sticking out from the door dripping wet. Her head poking out the door. One hand was holding the door shut, the other was placed over her breasts, protecting her modesty. Wow, I thought. Her face was flushed from the heat of the shower. While she was doing a decent job of covering herself, I couldn't help but look at her exposed skin. Each droplet of water shone on her smooth skin as it slowly cascaded down her body. "Why are you naked?" I asked with curiosity. "I'm having a shower, dumbass," she retorted. "Yeah, but why did you call me?" I continued. "I need a towel. I forgot to get one." "And I'm the dumbass," I quipped. I went to the cupboard and fetched her a towel. I brought it back and threw it to her. "Here, dumbass. Did you forget where they were?" The towel fell short and landed at the base of the door. "Thanks," she muttered as she went to pick up the towel. She bent down, and her hair fell over her face. As she reached for the towel, the door moved slightly and opened briefly. A small squeal escaped her as she hurriedly picked up the towel. I chuckled at her clumsiness. The door briefly exposed her, but nothing was visible as she kept her legs tightly shut and her hands strategically placed. She looked flustered and cute as she tried to conceal herself and pick up the towel. After closing the door, she giggled with embarrassment and squealed, "Don't worry. I didn't see anything important." I called out, "I only saw a glimpse and an embarrassed girl," which made her squeal louder. I laughed at her reaction. I went back to my room to look for a game we could play. As I searched, the door opened behind me. "Hey, did you get dressed yet?" I teased without turning around. When I turned to face her, she was standing at my door in a towel. "Not yet," she said timidly. Seeing my questioning look, she added, "I forgot to bring any change of clothes. Can you get my spare pajamas?" "Sure," I replied, shaking my head in disbelief. I rummaged through my drawers but struggled to find her clothes. "Did you replace your set after last time?" "Oh, right," she said. "What do you want to do?" I asked, trying to think of a solution. "Can you wear your old clothes?" "I'd rather not," she responded, "they wouldn't be very comfy to sleep in." "Well, I doubt the towel will work much better," I joked, to which she chuckled nervously. "Why not just wear some of my clothes? Can you at least recycle your old underwear?" "I guess that will have to do," she said, "Great LLY. Here, have these sports clothes." Raising an eyebrow, she asked, "Got anything better, like an old shirt or something?" "Trust me," I said. "Sports clothes are the comfiest clothes. I wear them to bed sometimes." I reconciled. "I'll let you get changed then." Taking my towel off the hook, I left the room. I turned to see her bending over my bed, grabbing the clothes, her towel riding up slightly. She caught my eye and said, "Well, go already." I nodded and left the room, closing the door behind me to give her privacy. After my shower, I returned to my room to see her sitting on my bed with her back to me, engrossed in a game. Wrapped only in my towel, I cleared my throat. "Hey. I need to get changed." "I'm in the middle of something, I can't pause right now," she said, focused on the game. "I can't get changed in front of you," I argued. "I won't turn around, I promise," she replied quickly. "Just don't make me lose this match." "You'd better not," I muttered. I moved to my bed to retrieve my pajamas and some underwear from the dresser. Standing at the other end of the room, I hesitated. "This is weird," I thought, feeling self-conscious. I quickly changed into my clothes, nearly stumbling in the process. Giggling, Caitlin asked, "Did you almost trip or something?" "Shut up," I grumbled, feeling embarrassed. Once I was dressed, I flopped onto the bed with a sigh. I stared at the ceiling until my thoughts were interrupted by Caitlin shouting, "Yes! I won!" She turned around and beamed at me. "See? This is why I couldn't pause. Totally worth it." I noticed she wasn't wearing a bra. Her hair had left damp patches on the front of her shirt, causing the fabric to cling slightly. Feeling awkward, I tried to brush it off. "Why aren't you wearing a bra?" I blurted out without thinking. "Pardon?" she asked. I stuttered. "I never wear a bra to bed. You've known this for years." Why are you asking now? She asked, confused. I was surprised. What? Years? That can't be right. I've never noticed before. Surely, I would have. I guess I never noticed before. Sorry, I said, trying to change the subject. We moved on from the awkward conversation and played games together. When we had enough of that, we chatted until we became tired. I awoke the next morning, unsure of when I fell asleep. As I looked around, I realized I must have dozed off while talking to Caitlin, as I was still wearing my pajama shirt, and the fan was only on half speed. I always put the fan on full speed just before I go to sleep. I turned to face Caitlin on the couch. She was fast asleep, one leg sticking out from under the covers. Her face was squished into her hand, giving her that endearing, unflattering look that only someone in a deep sleep can have. Cute, I thought to myself. As I watched her laying there peacefully, I had the urge to be with her in some way. I couldn't quite understand it. I wanted to hold her, or maybe just lay beside her. I settled down awkwardly next to the couch and laid my head on the couch cushion and beside her head. Her other arm lay draped over the edge of the seat and hung over my shoulder. As I passed the time by scrolling through social media, I found myself resting my head against her arm and letting it rest on my collarbone. I felt her body shift and her arm move more purposefully from over my shoulder to hold me. With a long yawn, she greeted me sleepily. "Oh, good morning." "Mornin'," I replied. "Sleep well?" she asked, still sounding sleepy. "Yeah, I did. I think I passed out last night." "Is that true?" "Yeah." She yawned. "But I made sure you were all tucked in," she said cheerily. "Ah, you are too kind," I replied with an affectionate voice. She let out another loud yawn and declared, "I'm too sleepy to function today." Functioning requires energy. With that, she rolled off of the couch and landed on me and the floor with a thud. "Hey!" I said, laughing at her playfulness. She wedged herself between me and the couch and dragged the covers down with her. "Ah," she said, smacking her lips, "it's real comfy down here. You're like a big teddy bear." As she said this, she wrapped her hands around my waist and curled around my body, her legs on one side of me, her head on the other. "You're a child," I laughed at her. "You're a pillow," she rebutted, and continued to twist herself into increasingly awkward positions. She squirmed and squirmed until she had rotated all around me and was laying over my lap, eyes still closed, arms still holding onto my waist. She looked up into my eyes with a big smile spread across her face and said, "You don't think I'm annoying, do you?" "You?" "Never," I replied sarcastically. She made her lip quiver and gave me puppy dog eyes. "You're a mean pillow," she said, like a child who's angry at a parent for saying no to buying a new toy. She continued to lay on me despite her apparent irritation. She gripped my thigh like a stuffed animal and wrapped her legs around my leg. Her head rested gently on my lap. She sighed a deep, comfortable sigh and closed her eyes. I had to admit, she looked pretty cute. Maybe too cute, I thought, as I felt a pang of discomfort. "Oh no," my internal voice exclaimed. This situation was getting awkward. "Hey, Caitlin?" I asked, rather timidly. Her eyes opened in response. "Can you please get off my leg?" Her face changed, saddened by my request, unsure of why my attitude shifted. "Don't you want to be my pillow?" she asked, hoping to keep the game going. "It's not that," I said, trying to find the right words, "I just think we should get up now." I was desperately trying to keep my cool. After a moment, Caitlin decided to let go of my leg. She seemed to understand something had changed. As she rose, I noticed the air had gotten a bit cooler. "What do you want to do today?" I asked, breaking the silence. "I dunno. I don't have any plans. Maybe we go to your place? Get you into something more comfortable?" I suggested, trying to avoid any accidental innuendo. "Yeah. Okay." After breakfast, she said with a cheerful voice. She jumped up, did a twirl, and left my room for the kitchen. We spent the day and most of the afternoon relaxing at Caitlin's place. Growing bored and a little restless, Caitlin suggested we go for a walk. Her house isn't too far from the beach, so we decided to walk to the beach and down the esplanade. As day turned to night, we stopped for food by the jetty. The sounds of seabirds and the gentle rolling of waves hitting the beach created a relaxing atmosphere. We found a quiet spot on some rocks overlooking the ocean and sat peacefully watching the waves roll by. We stayed there watching the moon rise above the ocean late into the night. Our conversations drifted in and out like the waves. Left temporarily alone with our thoughts, Caitlin broke the silence. "I kinda wanna go swimming." "Too bad we didn't plan ahead." "Yeah," she said dejectedly. "You know," I thought aloud, "my parents said that when they were kids, they went swimming all the time, whenever they wanted. And because times were different back then, they often swam in their regular clothes or just plain as they were. Sometimes they would swim before school, and it was the only way to keep their uniforms dry. Times were different then, people didn't mind swimming together casually. I can't imagine that happening today." I trailed off. "Imagine that." "Oh, shit," I thought to myself. "You're not getting any ideas, are you?" I asked with concern. She turned to face me, a sly grin appearing on her face. "No," I preemptively commanded. "Yes," she asked, overcome with excitement. "You cannot be serious," I asked, in disbelief. Of all the times I accidentally gave her bad ideas, this may be the worst. "Why can't I?" she asked genuinely. "There's no one around. Like you said, people did it all the time. We're best friends. What's a little bit of underwear modeling gonna do? I only have the underwear I'm wearing now. My spare clothes are just pajamas." Unfazed, she replied, "All right. Naked it is, then." I was getting increasingly concerned that she may have made her mind up. She kept looking around to see where people were and who could be seen. There was no one around, and the beach was relatively out of view. As terrified as I was about the prospect of swimming nude together, I can't deny that it excited me greatly. I started trying to rationalize the situation, figure out a way to avoid it, figure out a way to stay hidden. How am I going to hide myself from her? Do I want to? Why can't I stop thinking about how she'll look naked? I asked myself. Caitlin could see the gears turning in my head. She saw my breathing quicken. "Hey," she said, "calm down." I turned to face her. "Remember when we danced last night? I promise you that you'll enjoy this. I bet it will feel so freeing to be out there in the water. No one will see you from the footpath, and if they do, it'll just be a black blob where your head is. They'll have no idea you're naked. And as for me, it's dark out, we won't see anything. We can stay far enough apart to not see anything important." Her words were reassuring. "I'm nervous," I told her. "I know," she replied kindly. "I'm self-conscious. It'll be okay. I promise," she said compassionately. "We won't look at each other until we're in the water. Okay?" I timidly managed to respond with, "Okay. We can hold hands again if you want," she offered. "But then you'll be right next to me." "You might see me," I answered, afraid. "Well, do you think you can get yourself into the water on your own?" "No," I answered, truthfully. "It'll be okay, I swear it." She gave me a look that told me I could trust her. It made me believe that, once we were in the water, everything would be better. "Confidence hug?" she asked, outstretching her hands. "Just a quick one," I answered, as I embraced her. We jumped down in between the rocks, completely hidden from view. She faced me away from her and turned to face away from me. "We'll face away from each other and get unchanged. Then I'll grab your hand and run into the ocean. We'll run as fast as we can, all right?" I answered, unconfidently. "Oh, and make sure to keep running into the water even if it's cold. You don't want to get stuck halfway out of the water," she giggled. "Ready?" she asked. "No," I replied. I heard her start removing her clothes. "Oh, the breeze feels wonderful on my skin," she said, in a happy tone. "Come on, now. Get undressed." I started to unchanged and felt my ass bump into hers. Adrenaline spiked through my body in panic. It's fine, she said, fully aware that I'd be freaking out. Okay, I'm done. I trembled. My body was filled with nervous excitement. I was standing naked, next to Caitlin, who was also naked, on a beach, where anyone could see me. And yet, I felt my heart beating steady. My breathing was controlled. Only my mind was dissonant. I reached behind me, trying to find her hand. I didn't think about how hard it would be to find her hand without looking, and without touching her inappropriately. We did not think this part through, did we? I asked with a nervous chuckle. Not very well, no, she chuckled back. I reached behind me and my hand hit her waist. The touch of her skin sent shivers down my take it, I said, spreading my hand over her side and onto her stomach. She grasped my hand tightly, and I took a deep breath. Here we go, she squealed, yanking at my hand as she burst into a sprint towards the water. I kept my eyes forward and moved a full arm's length away as we ran. We hit the water's edge with a loud crash. The water was pleasant and inviting, still warm from the hot day. Oh my gosh! I yelled in disbelief. Nervous laughter escaped me. Caitlin squealed in delight. I'm so proud of you. Isn't this awesome? I promise I didn't peek, she said, genuinely. Now we can just relax with our shoulders below the water, completely exposed to the world while being simultaneously hidden from it. I had to admit, the water had a strong calming effect on me. It felt very freeing being unburdened by any worries. The push and pull of the tides gently massaged my body. The silliness of the situation made me giggle. Okay, I said, still filled with nervous laughter. This isn't so bad. Yay! Caitlin said gleefully. She jumped into the air, clapping her hands, and began to do a dance. Water dance emotion, she declared. I laughed at her enthusiastic energy but stopped when she jumped into the air and danced. The brightness of the moon created deep shadows that accentuated her curves. I looked at Caitlin. She was in her own world, dancing to the sound of her own happiness. I looked at my best friend in a way I'd never looked at her before. I saw everything in her. I saw someone I never wanted to be without. I moved towards her a little bit. I was close enough to see her outline below the water, but no detail. She looked at me, saw me getting closer, and looked down into the water. I stopped. We could sense each other's presence, but only on a surface level. I felt an intimacy I'd never felt before. She saw me looking deep into her eyes and looked back into mine. I like it when you call me Kate, she said shyly. What do you mean? I asked. You always call me Caitlin, which is fine by the way, but last night, you called me Kate a couple of times. I liked it. She looked down and grinned a shy smile. I never noticed, I said, thinking back over the last day. You're always so formal. You make everyone call you Jacob, except me, of course. It feels nice to have you call me Kate. She looked up at me, a warmth in her eyes I'd never seen. Kate? Yes, she whispered. Will you dance with me again? I asked, to her surprise. I outstretched a hand towards her. I'll always dance with you, she answered softly. She took my hand in hers and pulled me close. The gap between us exposed our nakedness, but our eyes never left each other's gaze. She offered me her other hand and I took it gently. We swayed together in harmony. We rose and fell with the gentle wash of the waves. We spun in small circles and drifted our hands in and out of the water. The sound of water splashing from the droplets falling from our arms gently echoed in our ears. I moved my hands down to her hips and held her in a soft embrace. She placed her hand around my neck. Our eyes were still locked on the other person, the whole world contained within them. I took her weight and began to sway her with the rhythm of our dance. I smiled at her and began lifting her. She didn't resist. I lifted her high above the water and spun in a spiral, bringing her back into the water. Her breasts came fully out of the water, exposed and only a few centimeters away from me. But my eyes never left hers. The most beautiful sight to behold was the look on her face, and not the shape of her body. Jake, she whispered. Yeah, I whispered back. She didn't reply. She didn't know what to say, and neither did I. I feel. She trailed off. Like I have never felt before, I finished. You do? What do you feel? I'm not sure. But I think you feel it too, I answered truthfully. She smiled and ran her hands up my neck and down again. I caressed her sides with my thumbs. I think I know what I feel, I said with more confidence. Yeah, she said, bringing us closer together. For the first time. Yeah, she whispered. I feel hug emotion, I finished quietly. Caitlin beamed a beautiful smile. Then let's hug. We embraced each other. Our bodies intertwined under the moonlight. Our bare skin pressed gently against the others. We were experiencing an intimacy we never knew possible. We didn't notice our nudity or the sexual nature of our embrace. We only felt each other the person we realized we loved most in the world. Nothing could separate us. I held her tightly against my body. Her head rested on my shoulder. I pulled at her waist, wanting to bring her even closer, closer than possible. She lifted her legs and wrapped them around me, hugging me with her whole body. I could feel her heart beating against my chest, letting me know it beat for me. I could feel her breath on my neck. I'd never felt more connected to a person before. The warmth of her body made me feel complete. I love that you're my friend, I said into her ear. I love that you're my friend, she replied. Kate, I can't believe how I feel right now. I feel so happy, so warm. I don't notice my own nudity. I just feel all of you and I love it. I love. I didn't finish my sentence. My voice trailed away. Could I really be feeling love? Caitlin, my lifelong best friend? Have I loved her all along? It was then that I felt her shift. She moved her head to face mine. Our eyes locked in a passionate gaze. Kate, I. And then she kissed me. We kissed long and deeply. Our lips pressed gently into the others. Softer than a breeze, we kissed each other. I felt her mouth open and I opened mine. Her tongue shyly searched for me. We danced in the water as we held each other in a passionate embrace. After an eternity of heavenly romance, our kiss ended. I love you, Kate. I don't know why it took me so long, but I know it's true. I leaned into her and brought our heads together. Her eyelashes tickled my cheeks as she looked into my eyes. I love you, I whispered with all the love and intimacy I could express with just 3 words. Oh, Jake, I love you, too, she breathed, while placing a hand on my cheek. I tilted my head into her hand. What matters isn't how long it took, but how I feel right now. How you feel right now. I feel like I could spend the rest of my life in your arms, be it here, be it anywhere. I never want to leave, she said, filling my heart with warmth. I'm so glad we went swimming, I said, making her laugh. You really are something special. Her eyes shone brighter than the moon. And thanks for hugging me, I added with a chuckle. She laughed at my honesty. Guess what? She asked with a smile. What? I answered playfully. We're naked, she squealed. I know. I laughed, I can feel your hair tickling my stomach. I said, causing us both to cackle loud into the night. Why can't I feel you? She teased. It gets small when I go swimming. I contested. Aha, she added with a giggle. Isn't it sweet that I can hold you close like this and just enjoy the moment? I asked, trying to sound playful. Oh, it's because you're so sweet, right? She replied, with a hint of sarcasm. Should I maybe feel insulted? Don't you find me attractive? She added, pretending to be overly dramatic. I think you're beautiful, I answered honestly, making her soften and look back at me warmly. Honestly, I haven't really looked at you in that way yet. Maybe we should keep it that way. What do you mean? Tonight has been special, Jake, really special. Let's keep it that way. I feel so free and open. I'm here with you, and all you want is to be close to me. I want to remember the love we felt, not anything else. I pulled her closer and kissed her gently. I think you're right. She placed a hand on my chest and rested her head on my shoulder. We held each other tightly, looking out over the horizon and into the starry sky as the waves crashed softly behind us. I couldn't help but feel a warmth in my chest, realizing that our relationship was going to change in a lot of ways. It made me a bit nervous, but also excited. I started to think about the future, feeling a mix of emotions. What if things get complicated? I wondered. What if it changes our relationship too much? What if I lose her? Caitlin sighed softly, and the feeling of her breath on my skin gave me goosebumps. Being with her has made me feel love in a way I never had before. I feel secure when I'm with her. Maybe one day, I'll be as free and confident as she is. I thought about our future with a renewed sense of hope. I put my arm on her lower hip and thought, fuck it. I want this. Kate. Yeah? Sex tomorrow? Sex tomorrow, she quickly answered. We both chuckled and I planted a kiss on her forehead. I love you, Caitlin. It took me a long time to realize, but I'm glad I know. I love you too, Jake. I'm glad we found out together.